Can everybody hear me?
Speak up. Speak
Can
up.
you all hear me? I'm speaking to you in my best projection voice that I can muster. It's nice to see all of you here to support the family of Captain Richard J. Toft, USN retired. My name is Paul Kazina. I'm the owner of Whidbey Memorial Funeral Home. In a few moments, my assistant Scott Lewis is going to participate. I want to draw your attention to a change in the program. If you look at the program where the Military Honor Guard is towards the end, it will be moved up to just under where the tribute by Scott Lewis is. So at this point in time, Scott.
We're here to celebrate the life of Captain Dick Toft. After a tough battle with esophageal cancer, Dick passed away on May 4th in his island home, surrounded by family. Dick was born in Trenton, New Jersey on July 14th, 1940, the son of Richard J. Toft Sr. and Marie Stokevin Toft. He graduated from Trenton Catholic Boys High School in 1958 and went on to graduate from Rutgers University in 1962 with a BS from their School of Agriculture before starting his career in the military. Post-retirement from the Navy, he went back to school in 1990 and received his master's in education at Western Washington University. Dick was commissioned into the Navy in December 1962. While stationed here at NAS Whidbey Island, he fell in love with the Pacific Northwest and a sweet school teacher, Rosemary Ello of Spokane, Washington. And they were married for over 50 years. They raised 3 daughters, Marie, Maddie, and Katie. Dick served in the United States Navy for 30 years, retiring with the rank of captain in 1993. He accumulated over 5,000 flight hours in Navy jets with over 800 carrier arrested landings. He had a distinguished career ranging from tours during the Vietnam conflict, commanding a base in the middle of the desert, to time served in the Pentagon. In 1993, Dick retired from the Navy, but this New Jersey native was now a Pacific Northwest convert and so returned to Oak Harbor. After serving a second career as HR director for Island County, he officially retired at age of 67, focused on fishing, crabbing, and volunteering. With a quiet humility, he volunteered his time supporting the local community and marine life preservation. He was a familiar face at the 4th of July pancake breakfast and at the fireworks stands. He also realized his dream of owning a Fisher sailboat. Dick enjoyed gardening and pruning his bonsai collection and was known by many as a mentor and an excellent storyteller with a quick wit and a love for music. Dick was preceded in death by his parents and younger brother, Bo. He is survived by his wife, Rosemary, and his 3 daughters, Marie, Maddie, and Katie. Blessed him with his beloved granddaughter, Bailey Bo. He is also survived by 3 sisters, Patty, Susie, and Noreen. It is fitting that we lay him to rest here on the island that captured his heart.
On behalf of the President of the United States Navy, and great formation, please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation. And faithful service.
I am down and all my soul so weary. When troubles come and my heart burden be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy sea. I am strong when I am on your shoulder. Raise me up more than I can be. There is no life without its hunger. Each restless heart beats so imperfectly. But when you come and I am filled with wonder, sometimes I think I glimpse eternity. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulder. You raise me up to more than I can be.
this a shot. Okay. You can hear me okay?
Good.
I think we have Irveline Money to thank for this, maybe. We found this in the house after she was taking care of giving us a little vacation and was having a nice, fun visit with our mom. And we found this on the counter and thought, well, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, hey, Dad. You know, you're probably up there wondering why we went to all this bother for you and you never like to be the center of attention, but too bad. And at Mass this morning, I was thinking about when you graduated from Western and I was supposed to bring you your cap and gown and I was running really late. And so I had to quickly drive around and meet you at a corner. And you jumped in the car and said, forget this, let's go get pizza. And I thought, after Mass, I just want to grab your ashes, throw you in the car and go get pizza. Fail on this thing. But as you can see, a lot of people loved you very deeply and are here to honor your memory and celebrate your life. So as you would often say, when we are about to do something hard or get to the meat of a task, here comes the smut, Martha. When I think of my dad, I often think of him in phases during his life. First, there was the military officer we grew up with, working a lot, pretty stressed, gone on cruise for the bulk of our young childhood. Then the post-retirement phase, when he went back to school, took on a second career as HR director, and we got to know each other better. And finally, the fully retired pop-pop, taking in everything around him and enjoying the little things. Many would be surprised to hear he had different plans for himself than the military. Even with all of this that we acknowledge of how big a part of that life, of our life that was. And I don't know how accurate this is, but he told me once that he had quite the rap sheet in college for pulling pranks. And so when the Navy recruiters came looking for people, his advisor handed them his folder, but slyly slipped the rap sheet out. He said he never intended to stay in the Navy. He had a big love of nature and science. He often talked about his time working the watchtowers, looking out for forest fires in Montana. I think that was some of his favorite times. I believe his degree was actually in agriculture. But as he put it, after he and my mom were married, he planned on having children on the military dime and then getting out. But as all too familiar with many in the military, you get sucked in. I'm sure I'll get some of this wrong, but it always made me laugh and wonder. While waiting for kids to come, he was lured in by flight school, then thought, well, I'll just finish this. Then it was, I'll move on from BN to pilot. Then it became, I just want to land on a carrier, and then land on a carrier at night. So each step of the way, he'd get further and further into his career. And pretty soon he was rising in the ranks and had a family of 5 to support. So he was in it for life, and so were we. At this point, my dad would be saying, bullets, Kate, bullets. He liked brevity. We often laughed at his abrupt ends to phone calls. You'd think you were having a conversation, and then all of a sudden he'd say, all right, talk later. But Dad, you were worth more than bullets, so settle in. For an often serious, quiet man, he was surprisingly sentimental, which showed most in his love of music. We all remember him in the garage playing Roger Whittaker, and he even surprised Maddie and Marie with a concert, their first concert, to see Roger Whittaker with them, which I'm forever jealous. We often joked with him that if it weren't for his military background, looking at his music taste would lead you to believe he had been a big old hippie during the war. We grew up listening to Peter, Paul, and Mary, Joan Baez, Simon and Garfunkel, you get the idea. If he could, he would have music playing all the time. It revealed a more relaxed and reflective man. I think he was a little jealous of his brother-in-law, Steve Davis, my Uncle Steve, who was living a more carefree life as a teacher and spending time on a sailboat, my dad's dream. In truth, my dad would have made an excellent teacher. The best grade I ever got on a history test was after a night of him reading through my chapter and recounting the details to me with great animation. I think many here know that he was an excellent storyteller, and that's what I needed in order for the dry text to be interesting to me. Perhaps the rare time he liked attention was when he had a tale to tell. Often funny, sometimes heartwarming, occasionally questionably offensive. He enjoyed a good laugh, and I honestly think his proudest moments of us were when we would throw the sarcasm right back at him, give him a good surprise chuckle. He learned to appreciate my humorous greeting cards and started to try to outdo me with his own, but being the frugal man he was, he would put his message on a Post-it so I could reuse the card. He definitely liked to save money by reusing anything he could. An early environmentalist, perhaps. We know he cared a lot about preserving the local marine life and spent time supporting efforts that took great care of the island. But my sisters and I know it was more about saving money. He once told me, you know, brown eggs taste the same, right? You're paying more money for nothing. And I pointed out that they were pasture raised and it was my money. So if I wanted to buy eggs from a chicken getting a massage and pedicures every morning, I would. This drew a big smile, probably more than my college graduation. We all inherited a bit of my dad's sense of humor or sarcasm. And sometimes when Marie would send out a few zingers with just kidding after it, my mom would give her the wise advice that if you have to say just kidding, then you shouldn't have said it at all. But Marie would look over at Dad and he'd have a glimmer in his eye with that "atta girl" look for it being a good one. So many reminders of Dad pop up in our daily lives. The smell of creosote brings back memories of the marina when he would take one of us down to pull up the clams that had been hanging off the pier, or when we hunt for a toothpick. And I'm reminded of how he always had one in his mouth after he quit smoking. And he would freak me out when he would suck it into his mouth to give me a kiss goodnight. Or the stickiness of the suet as we fill his bird feeders in just the way he liked. Now he hated the birds that would bully their way in and push the smaller birds out. Every time we peel a potato, we'll hear his voice telling us about his days at camp, working in the kitchen, and how he's the best potato peeler there is, not wasting a single bit. Oh, and his love of a good box. So much so that after he built us each a manger for Christmas, he was clearly prouder of the cardboard box he fashioned with handles to store it in. He was nothing if not consistent, obsessing over getting the garbage out on time and running the dishwasher every night, no matter how empty. We can't drive by the reservation at Snohomish without hearing our dad say, "If you need gas, it's cheapest there, but it's a speed trap, so watch it." I'm proud to say he never found out I did in fact get a ticket there as an adult after making fun of him for years for repeating that every time we left Oak Harbor. A Splenda packet, a word jumble or crossword puzzle, tearing off a piece of paper to chew on, pretzels that he would often hide from us in the garage. One day recently, he and Bailey came in from the garage and seemed conspiratorially up to something. But like a true 4-year-old, she whispered to me, Pop told me it's a secret, but he gave me some candy from the garage." He lost it laughing that she couldn't keep a secret. And I thought, now there's a true grandpa. When we were kids, he never shared his stash with us. He would call it adult food. And if we saw him eating something and asked for a bite, he would lick the whole thing and then ask, "Still want a bite?" Dad was also the most affectionate of us, and I will forever remember and now miss his sweet hand squeezes, like a little Morse code "I love you," whenever the mood struck him, in church, driving the car, watching TV. I hope to carry this act of love forward with my own daughter. But what I value most about our dad is his ability to evolve. A relative said recently that he really appreciated how inquisitive and curious our dad was, and I think that is what allowed him to keep learning and changing. The change was subtle, but where it mattered. I started to notice my dad's big heart and curious nature when he enrolled at my university. He even bought us matching Western Washington University sweatshirts my senior year of high school as a way to break the news we'd be going to the same school. He was getting his master's in education after he retired from the Navy. We would meet once a week for dinner, and I really value that time we had. Growing up, he was always so busy with work or in the garage. Getting time with him usually involved holding something for him while he worked on some project. But now he was asking questions, and I felt like we were getting to know each other. Once, when I dyed my hair pink, he expressed concern that perhaps the end of my relationship with my high school sweetheart had pushed me to drug use. I had a good laugh, but was touched by how genuinely he worried about my possible broken heart. He was a big softie underneath it all. He once joked that Western turned everyone into liberals and lesbians. At his graduation from his master's program with all women, I told him he was right. He had turned into a big old liberal lesbian. Again, a huge smile from him. I think it was telling that one of his favorite movies was Fiddler on the Roof. We would watch this every year with them, and I'm surprised how long it took me to make the connection that it was about a father with all daughters forging paths that strayed from tradition. I think the romantic in him appreciated the love stories of the daughters, and of course the music was his favorite. I forgot to mention he's a huge fan of musicals. But obviously he related most to Tevye, reconciling his old beliefs with the happiness of his daughters. And here our dad was, years later, one daughter a lesbian, flying combat helicopters, and another deciding to have a baby on her own with an anonymous sperm donor. None of us leaning on a man or a marriage to support us, and all of us becoming successful in our own right, thanks in large part to having two incredibly smart parents encouraging our success and independence all along the way, perhaps to a fault over dating. My sisters and I all had different relationships with our dad. Maddie was always invited fishing and crabbing, even joining the guys in Alaska a couple times, which tells you how much he trusted her not to embarrass him. He knew she could pull her weight and then some. Marie watched football with him the most and baked him his favorite foods. And he knew her eagle eyes and hound dog nose could suss out any missing item for him or concerning smell, like when the wood stove caught the roof on fire one Christmas and Marie was the only one who noticed the smell of smoke. He always credited her with that. I was lucky enough to be the one he asked the curious questions of. He may have started out unsure of how he felt about our lives, but every question revealed a desire to understand and learn and accept and embrace. He welcomed Maddie's spouse Jody and daughter JC into our family. He came around to supporting my decision and, might I say, thanked me often for bringing Bailey Bow into our lives. He always had a great deal of respect for Marie and trusted her implicitly with decisions and details, as I'm sure many of you can understand after seeing how she has helped lead our family through this last couple of years and was truly by my father's side to the very end. And in his final years, it was wonderful to see him as Pop to Bailey Bow. She adored his voice and getting hugs from him. When he would see her, he would get this big smile on his face and get all giddy, and almost like a shiver would run through him in anticipation of her hug. She picked up on our care for him and pitched in, reminding him to chew slowly, Pop, which really tickled him. We loved our dad each in our own way, and I'm so grateful that we could be there with him in his final days at home, with an incredible view of the harbor he loved and the birds he attended to. We took turns sitting with him, enjoying some of those trademark hand squeezes, and making sure he had his favorite songs playing. In the later years, he developed a deep love for the Irish tenors and the Celtic women. As Marie sat beside him, the Celtic women finished singing Amazing Grace and moved into You Raised Me Up, a favorite of his. A few moments into the song, we realized he had passed. Dad, I often remember whenever it was time to go somewhere or follow you on a task, you always said the same funny thing to me. And I hope if there's somewhere up there welcoming you, they have a good enough sense of humor to greet you in that same way. Come river, we go. We love you, Buffalo Breath, and miss you very, very much. Thank you.
Wow, we have quite a crowd here. I can see people in the back. Dick would have passed something around, you'd have to put a nickel in. Anyway, I will be brief, but I'm going to go back to a time when none of you knew Dick. Only I knew him. Even my sister Noreen didn't know him. It was 1948. He was 8 and I was 12. And our family always used to go camping because for 2 school teachers, it was an inexpensive vacation. So we were in Stoke State Forest in New Jersey in a cabin. And my father noticed on a map that the Appalachian Trail came right through close by where we were from Maine to Georgia. He said, we're going to go to that trail. So he took us to the trailhead. The plan was we were to climb up, look at the trail, and come back down, and he would pick us up. And we said, great. It was exciting because we never did anything. We did little hikes, not big hikes. So that's what we did. We climbed up the trail. We got to the top. And at this particular area, you could see all around New Jersey at the North Park. But then we decided we'd keep going. And we went a little bit further, and there was a lean-to where people could put their sleeping bags at night if they were doing the whole trail. Well, now it was getting later, no cell phones. I didn't even have a wristwatch, but I thought, we better get back. So I thought I'll keep going down this way and it'll weave around and bring us to the trail. No, now we were on another road, no car, nobody. And it was the woods and it was getting later. And Dick is now starting to make signs that we're in trouble. And I didn't want him to start to cry or be afraid, 8 years old. So here came a car down the road. An elderly couple was driving through the forest, and I waved them down. And they rolled the window down, and I sort of told them we were a little bit in trouble. I didn't tell them too much. But I said, could you take us out to the road where the bakery is? There was a bakery sort of storage place where you could get food for your campsite. And I knew a ranger station was out there too. So they let us get in the car. We went out, and on the way to the place, I thought, oh my gosh, where is my father now? What are we going to do? And as we pulled up to the bakery, there was our car. My father had decided it was time to go to the ranger station and let him know he had 2 lost children somewhere. Well, my mother looked at us. My father looked at us. Dickie looked at them. We got into the car and nobody said anything because I knew there was trouble. When we got back to the cabin, we learned about it. But Dick never forgot that. And every time we went on hikes, he said, follow directions. Don't change your plan. Thank you.
That's a good lesson.
Hello, my name is Philip Carroll. I'm here with my wife, Tammy. We're from Eugene, Oregon. And my mother is Regina Toft, a cousin to Dick. And my father, George Carroll, is one of Dick's many friends and great admirers. And when I told them we'd be coming up for this event, my dad wrote down some thoughts and memories. These are the thoughts and memories that my father shared with me to share with you today. So what follows are his words. Reg and I both wanted to be on Whidbey today for Dick and to share in person our sense of loss. We are unable to be here, but are pleased that our son Phil and his wife Tammy are able to be present. I knew Dick and his family long before I met and married his first cousin, Regina. Dick and I were both born in 1940, me in January and he in July. We grew up about a mile from each other in Trenton, New Jersey. Our parents knew each other, and we both went to St. Anthony's Grammar School. He was 1 class year behind me. We were in the Boy Scouts, loved the outdoors, spent wonderful times camping, and learned lessons that stayed with us for life. He wrote to me not many years ago and sent pictures of our scout troop and commented on some of our adventures, including one memorable trip camping in the snow. Oh, you're going to hold it for me? Oh, thank you. Okay. In 1962, I was in the Army, having graduated from college 1 year ahead of Dick. those days, family members wrote letters to each other, and the few I still have are treasures. One that I received from my mother informed me that she and my dad had spent an evening with Dick's parents. They knew each other from church and probably some juvenile court appearances. She told me that Dick graduated from Rutgers and was accepted into Naval Officers Training School. My mother wrote, the day after he was sworn into the Navy, he received word that he had been accepted by the Peace Corps. She added that he may have been a little disappointed, but I don't really know. It seems he was determined for the Navy life, and of course, he lived it to its fullest. In 1983, I began sailing for the first time on Chesapeake Bay. My brothers-in-law, Don and Paul Toft, had just become interested in sailing and invited me to join them. This led to many years of wonderful adventures on the bay. In 1984, Dick and Rosemary joined a group of Tofts and one Carol as we chartered 2 large sailboats. We sailed, shared wonderful meals, drank lots of beer, and swapped stories. In the evening, if women were aboard, we usually tied up at a dock where facilities, including showers, were available. One morning, Dick climbed on board our boat, coffee cup in hand. He said, Rosemary did not sleep well last night. There was a loose halyard slamming against a mast 3 marinas over. I broke up laughing because that sound and gentle rocking of a boat always put me to sleep. Just one example of Dick's wonderful dry humor. On one sailing trip, we got talking about our high school days and former sweethearts. He had recently visited a lady I had dated. He said, I know you want me to say she aged badly and had a big quitter on her neck. Chesapeake Bay and looked around with binoculars, focused on the huge Baltimore steel works then located at Sparrow's Point. Dick said, what a target. Good thing we were on a small sailboat and not an aircraft carrier. As most of you know, he was a great storyteller, and in recent years, I looked forward to being with him and hearing of his experiences. He and Rosemary came east for reunions and visited us. We also came west, and we were together at Lake Tahoe, Oak Harbor, and one day standing on the edge of San Francisco Bay, where he told me about steering a carrier under the Golden Gate Bridge, a memory I am so pleased he shared with me. I recently read an excellent book titled Sailing True North. In it, the author, Admiral James Stavridis, presents lessons of leadership and character from the lives and careers of history's most significant naval commanders. The main idea of the book is that we all have an internal compass that should help us stay on course, true north, all of our lives. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It helped me reflect on my own life and the direction I have taken. None of the admirals in the book were perfect. Some were flawed, but most of them knew that developing your reputation is a poor substitute for developing your character. Throughout his life, Dick developed his character. He strengthened the wonderful Toft traits he inherited and served his friends, his family, and his country. He sailed true north.
How's that?
Speak up.
Well, my name's Dave Williams, and I'm a longtime Navy friend of Dick Toft's and Dick Toft's family. It's an honor for me to be invited here today to speak about the Dick Toft that I knew and the Dick Toft that many of his shipmates who are here today also knew and enjoyed for many, many years. I feel privileged to have been a part of the Toft family, to still be, and to have been invited to share some thoughts with you today. So good afternoon, family, friends, shipmates of Captain Richard J. Toft, United States Navy, retired. Your presence here today in such overwhelming numbers, and many of you I know have traveled great distance to be here, to pay your respects says more about the man whose life we celebrate than any words that any of us might speak. By your presence, you honor him, and you are his true tribute. We're gathered here today to honor the life and legacy of Dick, a man whose presence in our lives was profound, whose absence will leave us forever diminished, a man who is well loved, a man who will always be missed. For the details of Dick's most impressive career of service, you've heard those read today in the form of his obituary. Suffice to say, he was proud to wear the cloth of our United States Navy for 30 years. So many of you served him, who served with him so well know he was a man of great accomplishment, an officer with an outstanding service record, a superb aviator, a leader of men, a man who always delivered more than he promised. I offer you two examples. A week ago, I had occasion to speak with a guy who was in my company at the Naval Academy, whose name is Wayne Arney. At the time Dick was slated to be CO of NAS Fallon, Wayne Arney was Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Installations and Logistics. He'd come a long ways from the Naval Academy. Fallon at the time was in somewhat of a shambles. They had a major public relations crisis going, primarily due to the supersonic corridor in Dixie Valley that none of the natives seemed to be happy about. So Dick, the incoming CO, was called over to the Secretariat, and he spent 3 months in session with Wayne Arney and others. Within weeks of his arrival at Fallon, as Mr. Arney told it to me, he had worked his magic in the Fallon community. He had calmed the stormy seas. The Secretary, as of last week, still thought Dick walked on water. These many years later. Related to that story, one of our A6 JOs who made good and retired as a Vice Admiral, whose name is Dave Nichols, a master of understatement, sent me an email. Nichols said, he did a lot of good at Fallon. He changed the mentality from a sleepy ox field burdened by an occasional air wing debt for he changed it to a 24/7 NAS Naval Aviation Center of Excellence. More importantly, he mended fences with the locals, the state, and BLM. And the other stories, he says, we'll have to tell over a beer. And last night, I received an email from Steve Kuntz, a former VA 196 squadron mate of many of us. He has to be remembered to all of you, and especially to Dick's family. You may know him as author of The Flight of the Intruder and over 40 other books that spent a lot of time on the New York Times bestseller list, and he's still cranking out about one a year. Here are his words about his shipmate, Dick Toft. As young naval aviators, I think all of us wanted to earn our way into this exclusive fraternity of warriors, fighting men, and be accepted as an equal. It was a unique group of those who wanted to, could, and did. You selected yourself and worked like a slave to earn your admission into this exclusive club. Your membership was good for your lifetime, be it short or long. Dick Toft was one of the men I wanted to join. In that fraternity of fighting men, he could, and he did. We were blessed to have been his shipmate, and I know many of us here would certainly echo that tribute. On a more personal note and a little closer to home, we come together here on this beautiful day overlooking Eby's Prairie, this pastoral setting that's so fitting to Dick's love of nature and the sea. And here we celebrate what he was to each of us. Both words and time are inadequate to that task. As Katie so eloquently said, Dick was cherished as a husband, father, pop, brother, dear friend, community servant, poker buddy, mentor, teacher. So many generations of naval aviators, Dick was shipmate, squadron mate, crew member, boss, leader, commanding officer, chief of staff, and always the mentor, always the teacher. Dick was the partner with Jack Hawley and me in our crabbing adventure of many years, the Captain's 3 Crabbing Consortium. There are lots of stories that go with that. I was going to tell one, but I was told the punchline was not suitable for a mixed audience. So that's one that we will tell at the reception. As been mentioned, Dick was so proud of that 24-foot classic Fisher motor sailor, the Iolante, which still sits in Oak Harbor Marina and still looks as beautiful as it did when Dick owned it. The fishing guru who led us, I was privileged to go on one of those wonderful charter trips to Alaska with him. The counselor, confident, who always cared, always listened, always was there to help, or to offer free and sometimes even welcome advice. The soft twinkle in the eye. I guess I never heard him called soft eye. That was a new one to me that the girls acquainted me with, but I can see where that came from. I've seen that look. The smile, which was always friendly, but it also mean, I got you. Incredibly dry, sarcastic, ever so funny sense of humor, which I'm sure you saw in Sister Pat. If you've ever talked to Noreen, you know how all that came about. His total inability to ever remember names. And he made names up to cover for that. Every woman that he couldn't remember her name was Cynthia. If it was a guy, it was Joe Smuckatelli. A Rotarian friend of ours had a hyphenated last name, and Dick could never remember it. In his vocabulary, it was always Jesse 2 names. As most of you know, Dick was a lover of dogs. I was privileged to know 2 of them, Dakota and Woody. Early in my harbor master days at the marina, late one summer afternoon when the sun was setting, I saw this old pickup truck pull into the parking lot, and I saw a guy and a long-haired girl. And they were, as you could only do in a beach seat, they were snuggled up. I'm sure there was a what do you call that, knob in there someplace. Yeah. Hadn't seen that since the days of my youth, and I just watched it for a while. Driver and his long-haired companion, I thought, how in love they must be. Until I realized it was Dick and Dakota. So somewhere along the line, I made Dick a present that still hangs over his workbench. It was a sign I found that said, "May I always be the man my dog thinks I am." Dick, I think you got your wish, buddy. Dick, who was famous for wearing shorts almost year-round, regardless of the weather, took a blizzard to get him into his long pants. I don't know if you never really truly get to know a man until you've cleaned out his car. And the girls and I recently did this, and it was quite a voyage of discovery. Bit of Honey was his favorite candy bar, which he always kept hid, just like he did in his stash in the garage. All these old Bit of Honey wrappers and a couple of moldy ones that he missed. Being a law-abiding citizen, this one baffled us a little bit. This is a Jimmy. Open card. Now, what Dick Toft needed with a Jimmy to open cars, I don't know. Glasses hung around the neck. Remember that? But there were always 2 pairs. And they always did a wonderful job of saving lunch for later on. A whole tube of toothpicks. Never run out of toothpicks. Cards for tearing up and chewing on, which Dick always did, as you know. And just in case he ever was going to run out, he had stashed in his car a brand new emergency pair of shorts. As Katie's already described so well, her most beautiful eulogy to her dad, that we could have stopped right there, you know. Dick was a man of dedication, total commitment to all the causes in which he believed. He was all in whatever he did. His contributions to Rotary, the are many. They are exemplary. In fact, he earned the honorary title among some of his committee members as the legendary Dick Toft, which we immediately shortened to LDT, and we called it that for quite some time. Dick Toft, the Rotarian, who is now permanently memorialized by the presence of his name on a plaque at the recently dedicated or rededicated Rotary Bridge in Windjammer Park. And Bailey Boat got to be there for that one, so that was a special day for everybody. His commitment to New Leaf, which is a local profit providing work opportunities for adults with disabilities. His years of service included two tours as chairman of the board of that organization. His love of nature, conservation of wildlife, manifested in his years of service on the Island County Marine Resource Committee. Much as we used to kid him about it, we secretly admired him for heading out at first light on a crappy, foggy morning to go out to the coast and climb the bluffs and count the return of a bird called the pigeon guillemot as it returned to its nest. I don't think any of us were exactly clear about the significance of that, but it meant a whole lot to do. So it's so appropriate that his final resting place is here, overlooking Eby's Prairie, which is part of the Whidbey and Camano Land Trust that was one of Dick's passions. So each of us carries Dick in a special place in our hearts, and each of us will miss him and will honor his memory in our own special way. He was the charter member of the Thursday Morning Geezers Breakfast Club. We would meet at a restaurant, mostly it was A6 guys, but others too. It's been mentioned that Dick loves musicals. One of the ones that has always come to my mind in that context as various members have left our group is Les Mis with its haunting song, Empty Chairs and Empty Tables. Dick's our most recent empty chair. Saddens us deep to our core, frightens us it's too close to home. I know we've all wondered as the years have gone by when it would be our turn to leave the table, and now for Dick, we know. But we'll always see him there. We'll always miss him. Already, I've thought about hundreds of things that I meant to tell him, to ask him about on those long afternoons of his illness that I foolishly assumed that we would have. To talk, to tell stories, to reminisce. For a variety of reasons beyond anyone's control, those afternoons were far too few. I'm sure that most of you would agree. But truly, we've been all blessed with the many, many days in the sun that we were able to share with Dick. Now, Dick would want us to miss him a bit, but to truly give thanks for our amazing time together and for all that we were to each other and for all that we always will be in spirit. I believe the clearest view into the heart of a man is through his family and how he's regarded by them. And so it was that Captain Dick made his final journey in the devoted care of his wife of 53 years, Rosemary, his incredible, amazing, and loving daughters, Marie, Maddie, and Katie, and of course the ever-precious granddaughter, Bailey. All of whom kept watch over him, they comforted him, they played his music, they cared for him, and prayed for him during his final days. There can be no greater tribute to a man's life than the love that filled the Toft home during Dick's final chapter. I want to share with you now my tremendous personal admiration has resulted from my opportunity to watch the Toft girls in action through this years-long event in their lives. They've honored their parents in the very best way possible. I admire them, I salute them, and I believe their devotion represents the dream of every parent. Marie, Maddie, Katie, a labor of love. Very well done, indeed. Truly, we've all been blessed to have lived in the circle of Dick's love and friendship. How incredibly fortunate that our paths crossed with his. For me, when the phone rings, I'll long to hear his traditional greeting. I have no idea where it came from, but it was always this. David DeWeans, Dickie Toft here, just checking in.
Yeah.
Is Weans a New Jersey pronunciation? It must be. Okay. Or the text he'd always send when he wanted to know where I was and what I was doing. Be just 2 words. Tanker posit. We all face the future as better people, more enriched in soul and spirit because Dick Toft came our way. He was a man with a kind and generous heart. He was a true shipmate. He was stoic and uncomplaining in his suffering. He was a man of quiet but solid faith, as you have heard so eloquently spoken this morning. And now he knows the answer to man's deepest question. He knows what's across the river. Navy pilot Rosario Rauza wrote a book called Gold Wings, Blue Sea, in which he spoke of the delicious pain associated with ending a career in naval aviation. He closed by saying, "You've been there on the wing of the high and mighty, and the journey has been a worthy one." As family, friends, and shipmates of Dick, we thank the good Lord for his life here on this earth. And we know that the remains that are interred here today are not Dick, but merely the earthly house in which he lived. We pray that Dick is rejoicing even now in God's presence, enjoying the blessings of heaven and swapping sea stories. With Brother Poe, dear friends Jack Hawley, Bob Pettyjohn, Jim McKenzie, Stan Stanley, and so many who have flown west before him. For now, Captain Dick Toft truly flies on the wing of the high and mighty. Farewell, shipmate. We salute you. We honor you for what you were to your nation, to your Navy, and to each of us. Yours was truly a life well lived. Home is the hunter home from the hill, and the sailor home from the sea. Thank you. Shorts are available if anybody's size 44.
And there'll be more opportunity for you to share stories at the reception. And we encourage you to do so. Now, in sure and certain hope of the resurrection to eternal life through Jesus Christ, we commend to Almighty God our brother Richard Toft. We commit his body to the ground, this resting place, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord, says the Spirit. They rest from their labors, and their works follow them.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the flowers are falling. 'Tis you must go, 'tis you and I must fly. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. 'Tis I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, oh, Danny boy, I love you so. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. 'Tis I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, oh, Danny boy, I love you so. This does conclude the service. I've been asked to announce that you are invited to a reception at the Toft family home. You'll find directions in the folder that was given to you at the beginning. Please attend, either completely vaccinated or masked. Thank you. You are free to leave at your leisure.
We have flyers out here with directions if you need
Together. No, but you're.